Settle in. We're getting ready to kick this thing off. Got our challenger Wayne King here and our incumbent Mayor Jake Day. And I just want to start by saying thank you for being here tonight. It's truly an honor and a blessing to have you all here. We really believe in civil discourse. We believe in the democratic process, and we are so thankful to have you here at the Wicomico Room. I want to send a thank you out to Salisbury University for really working hard to make this room, this event so great. This university is such an asset to our community, and we are really thankful that they are a part of this. Also want to give thanks to our partners tonight for hosting this forum. Special thanks to the Public Affairs and Civic Engagement of Salisbury University, PACE. These guys are great. Salisbury Area Chamber of Commerce. Yeah, you can applaud. You can applaud, absolutely. Also would like to thank the Salisbury Area Chamber of Commerce and the Greater Salisbury Committee. Each one of these groups has a representative up front here tonight, and I'm going to call them our panelists, but we have Mike Dunn, who is the president of the Greater Salisbury Committee. If you want to whoop it up for Mike, that's fine. Go ahead. Bill Chambers is here representing the Salisbury Area Chamber of Commerce. Thank you, Bill. And Jennifer Cox is here with PACE. Jennifer, thank you for being here. I also want to give a shout out or a thank you to the folks at home. PAC 14 has been kind enough to broadcast this live on Facebook. If you want to see it, it's pac14.org, and you go to their Facebook. So check that out. If you got family at home, let them know now that they can watch this thing in their pajamas. That's always great, right? We want to thank these two candidates for agreeing to do this. This is the first time I believe you two have been on stage together, right? So we're really excited to be here. I'm Ryan Eldridge. I'll be the moderator tonight. I work at 47 ABC, and I have to give the plug because local matters, right? So that's why I'm here. Thank you for having me, and I want to thank the great groups and partners that were a part of roping me into this thing. Really, I love politics, and I'm really excited to be here. So the way this is going to work tonight, I'm just going to kind of go over some rules. You know, it goes from 6 to 7, so I'm going to dive into it as quick as possible. We're going to give each candidate a chance for an opening statement. We're going to start with Mayor Day first for the opening statement, and then in the close, we're going to let Mr. King close. So Jake will go first in closing statements, you'll go first in opening, and then Wayne, you'll go second in opening, you will close the event. When we get into the questions, we've got questions from our panelists. You as audience members also have a chance to chime in. As you made your way in, there was a chance to grab some index cards. So if you got those, write your question on there. Look for Sarah's over here on the left. You can see her kind of waving. It'll be your right, stage left for me. And if you didn't get a card, someone will get it to you. And then just write your question on there, get it to them. They'll get it to me. And if we get a shot, I'm going to try to work in some audience questions. We'll get them in best we can, along with, of course, we've got Bill, Mike, and Jennifer here with some great questions as well. So we're going to dive into this thing. And Mayor, I'll let you have the floor. If you could, just give us your 2-minute opening statement, and we'll get this thing started.
Good evening, Salisbury. It is an honor to be here with you tonight. Ryan, I think the last time I saw you, we were running the marathon.
We were running the marathon.
Side by side. You beat me. And while it might seem like we are on a marathon, let me tell you folks, we are working hard, running hard every single day to transform this community, to leave it as nothing less than the greatest small city in America. Let us not forget where that journey began. It was only 10 years ago that we had the 4th highest crime rate per capita in America. And I'll bet most of you remember a time when you could not open the newspaper without finding city elected officials fighting with one another. That was the leading story. As we've run this race, we've seen a rising tide, a growing city, safer streets, and improving infrastructure. And just yesterday, USA Today identified Salisbury as among the top 30 affordable cities that people are flocking to in the United States of America. We're Maryland's fastest growing city. We have the #1 job growth of similar sized cities in the US. We've added 2,700 jobs in the last 4 years alone. And in that time, we've seen $200 million in construction, and we've got another 150 in the permitting pipeline right now. And we're doing it with humanity, serving our children, the homeless, our forgotten neighborhoods, the addicted, those without health care, and we're also doing it efficiently. We've won the Government Finance Officers Accounting Budget Award 2 years running. We've got 2 perfect consecutive audits, a AA bond rating, healthy reserves, and no tax increases over my 3 budgets. We have a lot to be proud of. And I am proud to have received 100% of the endorsements provided in this race. Today, Governor Hogan, our senators, Chris Van Hollen, Ben Cardin, Comptroller Francho, the Wycomico Democratic Party, the Coastal Association of Realtors, Sheriff Mike Lewis, County Council President John Cannon, Delegate Anderton, the firefighters, the police officers. I won't let any of them down, and I'm not going to let a single one of you down. Thank you.
All right, Mayor Day, thank you very much. Mr. King, your opening statement, if you will.
Hi, all. I want to thank the Chamber of Commerce and PACE for sponsoring this event. There's a very good reason why I'm running for mayor. I truly believe I can help this city out and set it in the right direction. Presently, our city has way too much crime, a homeless issue, a lack of good-paying jobs, and a tremendous amount of you scratch my back and I'll scratch your back going on here. As for crime, someone does not feel safe, he or she probably is not safe. I don't go for that feel excuse that my opponent uses. Being an outsider with my lengthy business experience, I find myself to be perfect for this job. The ability to look at things with an open mind and an out-of-the-box feeling. I see things right now for what they are and where they are going. I do believe in the old saying, if it ain't broke, don't try to fix it. Unfortunately, we need many fixes here. Jean Gell, a famous urban designer, said, "There is great confusion about how to show the city of the future. Every time the architects and visionaries try to paint a picture, they end up with something you definitely would not like to go anywhere near." Now, this guy is world-renowned, so how do we know that Jake is doing will work? To me, it seems like he's going from the letter A to the letter Z and forgetting all the letters in between. We need to fix what we already have, and then we can start pumping money into futuristic ideas, like creating a smart city, getting public transportation working better for us, getting the pride back into our city by fixing up the forgotten people, the people that live around the city. What makes a city is its people. I am here to help the people. I will bring better jobs here by recruiting more businesses that are outside this area. We need outside money to come here. We can't just keep trading our own dollars. I will lower the crime rate. I will support small businesses, which are the lifeblood of our country. I will address the homeless issue, not just help a dozen people so I can get a selfie of myself. There's also some confusion going around. There are rumors that Jake is leaving our city to become lieutenant governor in 2 years. I think he needs to clear this up right now. He needs to pledge that he's staying for the full term of mayor or if he's leaving. After all, his dad told him if he does a good job, his career will take care of itself. Well, does that include moving on soon?
Mr. King, we're gonna move on from opening statements if you don't mind. 2 minutes. Now, I do want to, I apologize. I'm sure you can get back into it. Another question. I do want to move ahead on this thing because we do want to try to get as many audience questions in as possible. So I apologize, Mr. King. I do want to just remind the audience and remind our candidates that the three organizations that are represented tonight believe strongly that civility in the public discourse is very important, and it is in that spirit tonight that we're holding this event. So audience members, if you just no outbursts tonight. If we could just let these two gentlemen debate, that would be great. When I ask the question or when these panelists ask the question, we're going to give them 90 seconds to answer. We're going to alternate between the challenger and the incumbent, and then we're going to give them 60 seconds for a rebuttal. There will be no rebuttal to a rebuttal. I did ask that. So we're going to go 90 seconds for an answer and 60 seconds for a rebuttal. Otherwise, we might be on the same question forever. So we're going to dive right into this thing, and Jennifer Cox with PACE has our first question for the night.
Coming. How important do you think it is for the city of Salisbury and Salisbury University to have a strong connection, and why? And please do cite specifics on any ideas you've generated towards cementing that relationship.
Okay, Salisbury University, we have a college town here. I think we all know that. We are doing a lot of great things with the university. One of the best things I like, and something that was spoke about on my platform, is what they're presently doing right now is setting in an entrepreneurship program in the downtown. I would love to be part of that, and I would love to get even more involved as far as the city getting involved. Okay, because as I said, small businesses are lifeblood, and with my experience running a small business for 20 years, I could certainly help anybody who wants any help with that. It's kind of like the Rodney Dangerfield movie, Back to School, where he says, "Oh, you missed out a whole bunch of stuff." Well, I happen to know the stuff they're missing out on. So, Jake?
In 2013, Salisbury's town gown relations were known by the anger in the neighborhoods surrounding this university. We know about fights, we knew about parties, and that was all we heard about. We have transformed the relationship between Dr. Eschbach and now Dr. White, myself, and this university to the point where you attend the neighborhood relations meetings, the town gown meetings, and it's discussions about how strong those partnerships are, how strong the relationship with the university is. And frankly, the city doesn't deserve credit for that. The credit goes to Salisbury University for clearly sending the message that the relationship with the city is critical. And by the way, those entrepreneurs, we've created the Mayor's Prize, and we've invested directly in them so that we no longer look in the eye of an entrepreneur who's going to leave this town. Instead, they're investing in our community, just like you are. We also invested in the Buy a Home, Build a Business program to not only help them stay here as part of the business community, but to help them own a home in our city limits.
All right, Mayor Day, thank you very much. And Mr. King, thank you as well. We're going to give the next question to Bill Chambers from the Salisbury Area Chamber of Commerce. And Mayor Day, you get the first chance to answer this question.
Thank you, Mayor Day and Mr. King. The business community appreciates your participation in tonight's forum. This question is for both of you. The City Council is poised to request authority from the state to establish a liquor license oversight board separate from the Wicomico County Board of License Commissioners. Would you support such a request? If given the authority, what would be your preferred model for creating a separate liquor license board in the city of Salisbury?
Well, of course I would. We wrote the bill 4 years ago. Our Eastern Shore delegation, the leader of which is standing at the back of the room, has sat with us at every single meeting over those 4 years where we have said this is a high priority. We've known that politics had found their way into the liquor board for years. This is not new. The latest incident certainly brought light on that subject for the vast majority of the public, but we knew this was going on. And I think what's critical is with 84% of the businesses and 92% of the employed persons working in Salisbury every single day, we have control of our destiny when it comes to virtually every single permit issued from the city of Salisbury. And now in a one-stop shop, there's really only one more permit that is not controlled by the city of Salisbury. We've found that we've been able to reduce timelines, make business easier in Salisbury, develop a reputation of being good with the business community, all in a short 4 years, something that we were, frankly, not known for. So of course I'd support it. I believe we've got the relationships with our Maryland senators and our Maryland delegates to get the job done. And when in place, I believe we should follow the Annapolis model, a precedent that's been set, where the mayor and council appoint the members. They are depoliticized. They are a quasi-judicial board, just like our other 4 quasi-judicial boards. They act essentially as judge and jury and are responsible only to the citizens.
Mr. King, rebuttal?
Yes, I kind of actually believe in what he said as far as the one-stop shop. The one question I have, though, is it going to cost us anything? I know there's supposed to be volunteers that are involved with the liquor board, but getting to another subject about this liquor board thing, the infighting with the city and the county has to stop. I mean, if you want to talk about political, it was all political, this fiasco that happened with the festival. There's no doubt about it. And for Jake to go around the county's back and go to Francho, the comptroller, was totally unacceptable.
We're going to go for the next question. Mike Dunn with the Greater Salisbury Committee. You have the floor.
Gentlemen, thank you for being here tonight. Mayor Day, you often call Salisbury the capital of the Eastern Shore. Mr. King, in recent interviews, you have often called Salisbury Little Baltimore. It seems evident that the two of you view Salisbury in starkly different ways. With that in mind, what do you each think about the current trajectory of Salisbury as a community? Is it headed in the right direction or the wrong direction?
I believe the crime is heading in absolutely the wrong direction. I find that our neighbors are afraid to call the police for repercussions from the neighbors that they have. And basically, I want to read a letter to you, okay? This is a letter from Kathy. She lives behind the Salvation Army, and she wrote, "In my neighborhood, crime has gone up for the last 5 years. Most of these are committed by young people that are threatening and menacing. They keep us confined to our homes, and worse, in the evenings we learn to travel in pairs. When we have to be outside, we make sure there's a presence of neighbors around. Since September 2018, we had our house shot up twice in 1 week by a neighborhood teenager across the street. Just 2 weeks ago, this person showed up standing in front of myself and a neighbor for approximately 10 minutes, just staring at us, then moving on. You can't imagine my loss of sleep, the threat that I feel, how frightened I am. Now, I do believe that this should be the capital of the Eastern Shore, but the comment Little Baltimore is also applicable because we actually have a higher crime rate per capita when it comes to shootings and also theft. And I think everybody in this room knows what I'm talking about. There's only so much you can manipulate these numbers, but we are going on some, we're going on a steep decline as far as when it comes to crime. I just don't think the crime is being reported. That's what I think, and I think the people know that.
Mayor Day, you seem to paint a different picture in your opening statement. Would you care to rebut?
Well, I think the question was, are we headed in the right direction or the wrong direction, based on the vision that's been set forth for our city as the capital of the Eastern Shore? Look, I'm in a lot of rooms with a lot of mayors, and I find myself time and again being looked to for the answers from my fellow municipal leaders from around the country and around the state at the Maryland Municipal League. They're not looking at Salisbury as an example of what's not working. They're looking at us as an example of what is working. I think one of the things you've got to recognize is the statistics are in our favor, so we're not headed in the wrong direction. Crime is down, jobs are up, homelessness is down, wages are up, property values are up, unemployment is down. Those are numbers headed in the right direction. I stand by each of the actions my administration has taken, proud of where we're headed, and we are going to be the capital of the Eastern Shore.
All right, gentlemen, thank you. Jennifer Cox, you have the next question.
Thank you. My question's for Mr. King. Many people in the community aren't as familiar with you as they are with Mayor Day for obvious reasons. So with that said, please tell us about yourself. And since you're running for mayor, please share with us three or four things that you love about this place that we call home.
Okay, well, the first thing, the reason why I moved here is because I love the people. Well, actually, that's why I bought a house here. I laid roots, okay, because I really do love the people here. After I did move here, I did start to realize that the crime was very high, and I thought the economy needed a lot of fixing. Okay, what else was in your question?
If you could list 3 or 4 things
Oh, okay.
you like about the shore.
Okay, I love that I'm only 30 miles away from the water. I'm from Long Island, okay? Long Island is 17 miles wide and 120 miles long, okay? So, we also have a lot of golf courses around here. I love to play golf. And when I look at Salisbury, I really look at a potential that most cities do not have. And I do not think that we're even coming close to reaching our potential. And by the way, I'm not surprised that he agrees with the town getting better. He is the mayor, of course, so he was not going to say it's worse. But I do see that we are headed in the wrong direction, okay, as far as when it comes to crime, homelessness, small businesses. I do not like the idea that our mayor is a progressive. Progressives are moving towards socialism, and that's where I see this heading, okay? Socialism is not a good idea.
Jennifer, I'm going to take a little bit of a liberty with the rebuttal here. Mayor Day, first of all, the assertion that you're a progressive, I guess you can address that first, but I think people genuinely maybe want to hear what 3 or 4 things you love about the area. Well,
I guess in the sense that I like to make progress, I'm pretty progressive.
Sorry, that's a noun,
well,
that's not a verb. It's supposed to be,
Okay.
there's a difference between progress and progressive.
Mr. King, we're just going to let him
Okay.
finish his response.
I love the people too. I love the people of this city. For 37 years, you've been my mentors. You've been my family. You've been my friends. You've been my neighbors. This room is filled with you. And from grade school to Boy Scouts to leaving town, going to college and coming back and realizing that this is a place that I wanted to be in while there was a generation of us that were leaving. And I'm proud to see some young faces in this room of folks that came back too. But I'm surprised, Mr. King, to hear you say that you love this town. Until the last 90 days, you didn't involve yourself with these people. You've called in interviews our citizens thugs. You've called this city ghetto. You've said you live in the hood of the hood. And I'm glad that you're here saying you love it now. I wish it hadn't taken a microphone, a spotlight, and a stage to make that happen.
Or lies that you just made.
Can you gentlemen just like a quick list, give us 3 or 4 things you love without any context or rebuttal towards each? I mean, can someone just do that? Would be
Sure.
great. I'm a little confused.
My neighborhood, born and raised in, my neighbors, and my family.
The people, the interesting demographics, okay, and also the city. I believe the city could be fantastic.
Okay, gentlemen, thank you. I'm gonna move forward. Mr. Chambers, if you could, you have the next question.
Thank you. Mayor Day, you've said since day one in your term as mayor that downtown revitalization is essential to Salisbury's success. Do you still feel that way? And what do you say to those who say that you are too downtown focused?
I love when I hear that. So my administration has formally mapped and walked our 72 neighborhoods. First administration to do that. We created our neighborhood relations office. We work well with every neighborhood association. We created the position of neighborhood relations manager, person who works directly with our neighborhood associations. You can call each of the neighborhood associations. My friends at Newtown Association, Camden Association, Johnson's Lake, they'll tell you the same. And we know the truth about the trajectory of the American economy and American downtowns. You fail to get your downtown right, and your economy fails. It's a story that's been told time and again, and it was true in this town. But we have turned that around. And we're not going to let it down. Because a downtown is not just one of the neighborhoods. It is also, critically, a city central business district. It is a city asset. It belongs to everyone. Every single person in the community, they own that downtown, the center of their city. What's at the center is critical. What's at the center tells you what's most important. In fact, there's a whole book by Jan Gehl that says precisely that. We've got 250,000 square feet in construction right now. We've got more restaurants and bars than our downtown has ever had in its history at any point in time. We have the highest rents in the region in our downtown. We have the highest occupancy downtown has ever had. We have more people living in downtown than at any point in its history. And we are on a pathway to making it a sustainable core of a great American city.
Mr. King, rebuttal?
At what cost? That's the real question. Basically, what Jake has done in the downtown is not only use up a lot of grants, but he's also taken our long-term debt from $86 million to $106 million in a matter of 4 years. Now, you have to sit back and say, well, what did we get for this $20 million and all the grants that we put into the city? The other thing is, I know our neighbors are not happy with all the money and all the work going into the downtown. I don't agree with it. I don't think it's right. I think we have busted up sidewalks. We have busted up streets. Fitzwater's an issue. It's been an issue forever. I don't know how he stood there and watched it flood for 4 years straight, even though I know it's been flooding for many, many years. The real question is, why are we spending so much money on the downtown? We are spending a fortune. And I do not see that much going on.
Mike Dunn, if you could, you have the floor.
Mr. King, short question. What is your vision for Salisbury? Where do you want this city to be 5 years from now?
Okay, when you say city of Salisbury, I include everybody. I don't include just the downtown. I want the neighborhoods around the downtown fixed up very quickly. Okay, we could fix the roads up. We could fix up the sidewalks. Okay, my vision is in the future, I would love it to be a smart city. I would love it to not have to worry about, smoke and smell and all that stuff that large cities and small cities happen to run into, but we're not at that point yet. Right now, we need to basically fix what's going on around the city. We need to bring large businesses here. And then once we bring the large businesses in, we could start getting good jobs, because the people are the ones that count here. Remember, we have a 27% of the people here live below the poverty line. That is a real issue. What are we doing about that?
So this city has come to live and breathe the vision that I conveyed 6.5 years ago when I first ran for office. We've got to be a robust society, but also an efficient and effective government run by leaders who are capable of leading organizations. We've got to be a city that enacts real change, that tackles youth delinquency and homelessness and job creation all simultaneously. We got to walk and chew gum. In 5 years, I see us as a city that has tackled many of those problems and a city that gets to move on to new challenges. I see us as a city that adds another 2,700 jobs, as a city that reduces crime another 18% in 4 years. I see us as a city that continues to grow home values, just as we have each of the last 4 years. I see us as a city that continues to grow our wages, just as we have had each of the last 4 years. A city that truly earns that moniker of capital of the Eastern Shore.
Jennifer, since we're going to kind of come around for round two, I'm just going to do one audience question here. And, these are anonymous, so you know who you are. So thank you for writing your question in. Mayor Day, I'll toss this one to you because you talked about a further reduction in crime. This question specifically asks, how do you plan to reduce crime in Salisbury? So if there is a way that you could be a little more specific, I think that's what maybe this audience member wants to hear.
Well, the real credit goes not to any elected official for the successes we've had already. The real credit in a 43% reduction in Part 1 crimes in 10 years goes to the person who was hired to be our police chief 10 years ago, Barbara Duncan. And we stay focused on the very same things that she has kept us focused on, which are building trust, which causes calls for service to rise, predictive policing, which creates new calls for service, officer-initiated calls for service. And that reduces the times that people have to pick up the phone to say, something just happened to me. It increases the number of times that somebody says, I trust Salisbury Police Department, I'm going to pick up the phone, I'm going to talk to them. We continue to increase our ranks. We continue to add officers to the street. In the last 4 years, we added more police officers to the street with the 16 added 4 years ago than any point in our history. That's how we reduce crime. And oh, by the way, we keep those officers here. We haven't had a single police officer leave this department in 24 months. That's the first 24-month period we've been able to say that in the last decade.
So, Mr. King, I think the rebuttal for you isn't necessarily to talk about the numbers he's specifically stating, but you talk about kind of that dynamic of crime, the problems that you believe exist. How would you tackle that challenge as you've presented it?
I would arrest them. I would not let them sit there and sell drugs. I see it in my neighborhood. I see it in everybody's neighborhood. These guys are not getting picked up. And also, he's saying that people trust the police more. That's not what I'm getting out of the people I speak to. He's looking at statistics. I'm speaking to the people and what they have to say. Okay, and the people are saying that I do not want to call the police because they don't do anything. Okay, they're not writing reports. They are not busting people that they should be busting. Okay, and the type 1 thing, that is also due to our judges. Okay, because we're knocking things down from type 1 to type 2. Now, type 1 is basically a felony. Okay. And what we're doing is we're knocking a lot of the type 1s down to type 2. And that skews the percentages. And I do not believe crime is going down. I do not believe it. Ask your neighbors. Okay? That's all I have to say about it. Just ask your neighbors if you think crime is going down.
We're going to get back to questions from our great sponsors and organizers of this event. So, Jennifer Cox, we'll start with you again if you would like to start the next round of questions.
Thank you. Do you think it is for the city of Salisbury to have a strong connection with Wicomico County's elected leaders? And how would you sum up the relationship to this point?
I would say that it's very important. You're not going to agree on everything. That's impossible. But I credit our county council, all 7 members of our county council, the 4 Republicans and 3 Democrats who had us before them last week, scheduled time for the city of Salisbury on the county council agenda to sit before them, talk through the successes of the National Folk Festival, the $45 million economic impact, the biggest event in our community's history, and to talk about those successes and how they can help in the future. They have been incredibly helpful in that front. Wicomico County Parks, Recreation, and Tourism has been our partner in delivering that event. We are incredibly grateful for that. The Sheriff's Office has been an incredible partner. We have an elected sheriff who has been incredibly helpful to us. We have a elected state's attorney who has been an incredible partner to us. We work together. We talk regularly. I have weekly conversations with every single one of them, all 9 of those elected officials. I'd love for there to be a 10th. I want a better relationship with our county executive. I know my predecessor didn't have a very good relationship with our county executive. I've had periodically a good one. In fact, we dealt with the fire service agreement, which was a long-running 7-year expired agreement that the county and the city could not agree on, and finally put that to bed. And I think as long as my door remains open, which it will, we will continue to see improvements in that relationship.
Mr. King, I think you painted a different picture of maybe that relationship with the county, so if you could expand on that. And
Well,
give a
I'm not
rebuttal.
going to make it all flowers and butterflies like Jake does. I will tell you right now, there's a horrible relationship with the city and the county. It's not working out. Look what just happened with the liquor board licensing. I mean, it's absolutely nuts. I mean, he went online, he did a blog and bashed Bob Culver for about an hour, along with this guy Foxwell, who happens to be the chief of staff of the comptroller. And that's why I kind of wonder, is he just practicing as your campaign manager because he's going to be moving on in 2 years and not be hanging out? He still has not answered. He still won't pledge if he's staying here or not. I would really like to.
May I
But,
answer?
Getting back to crime, though, and business. Yeah, it's funny, isn't it? But getting back to business and the economy, though, I happen to have a pile of letters here that were written by small businesses on Route 13 that they sent in May of 2018, not 19, 18, that he basically never responded to. He told them he was going to sit down with these people. He never did. And I'd like to know why.
Mr. Chambers, you have the next question.
What do you feel are your biggest accomplishments in your first term? And Mr. King, after Mayor Day responds, we'll ask you about those accomplishments and how you view them.
Well, I'd like to first say that I'm running for mayor of Salisbury. I intend to complete a term as mayor of Salisbury, a second term as mayor of Salisbury. Number one, the economy. We're the number one fastest, have the number one fastest job growth in America of any city our size. We, I think critically, crime. We have competitive pay. We have 0 embarrassing lawsuits for the first time. The first administration, we've had 0 lawsuits against our police department. We're keeping our officers, and we have the number one fastest drop in crime rate in America from 2007 to 2017. I'm proud of what we've done for our youth. We've created the Youth Civics Council, the Youth Leadership Academy. We have created the Youth Athletics League. We created a youth summer jobs program employing our young people in the city. We have 2 community centers now. Newton Street is under construction and Truett Street is open and active with programming. We eschewed a curfew, and I'm proud of that. And homelessness. We're the only city in the United States of America with fewer than 250,000 people that have a permanent supportive housing program. We are being called the national model for small cities to address homelessness. And this year, as of July 1, we have funded a program that will put homeless persons to work in our city. I'm very proud of that.
Mr. King, I believe the question to you was, how do you see those accomplishments that he talks about?
Well, he built a civic center for the kids. He never opened it. I don't know why he did that. That was a waste of money. I see a lot of money being wasted here. You don't know which one it is? It's actually over near my house.
You can answer
Civic
that.
Center?
It's over not a civic center. It's a place for the kids, an after-school place for the children. He never opened it.
What is he talking?
I can't remember
Truett
what the
Street
name is.
Community Center, which is open every single day? Every day?
No,
Programming
no, it's
every
not.
day?
I drive by it all the time.
7 days a week?
It's not that one. It's not that one. What?
Mr. King, you can continue. You can continue.
Okay. I'm telling you, it's not open. Not the one I
we're a
was
little
talking
confused
about.
about the center, but you can continue.
Okay.
Did you want to respond to any of the other accomplishments?
Yes, I did.
You can continue. You have time.
Okay, I'll just wait for the crowd to calm down. Okay, as far as what he's done, I'm not the type of person that's going to bash everything that Jake has done. That's not right. He has done some things that are good, right? Jake, you think he did some things that are good. And I think he's probably done some things too. I just have to look for him. But when it comes down to like, the building downtown is just really a mess. He's chasing businesses away. He's beating up on businesses that just don't deserve it. As a retailer, I just know that I would never want any of that construction going on in front of my businesses. And he smiles about it, but that's not what I would be.
Okay, we're going to move on to the next question. I believe this is from Mike Dunn.
Gentlemen, infrastructure improvements are happening everywhere around the city. Waverly Drive, the soon-to-be-built traffic circle at Mill Street, the ongoing efforts downtown with the Streetscape project, the soon-to-be-begun project on Fitzwater Street. Long-term, they're a good thing, bringing much-needed improvements. Short-term, however, many see them as a hassle. What do each of you say to the citizens as we and they endure these infrastructure changes?
I think first thing you do is you tell your citizens the truth. You say, I was elected to lead, not to cower, and you ask them where they want to go. That's why every single plan adopted by the city of Salisbury since I joined the city council involved significant public process. And before I was on city council, the downtown master plan was created, the streetscape plan to replace the 100-year-old failing infrastructure on Main Street was created and funded. And as a city council member, and now as mayor, it's my responsibility to implement the things that were adopted by the people of Salisbury. And I chuckled only because I'm looking out into the audience at two people who are downtown business owners who have construction in front of their store and mouthed a response to the comment, because ultimately this is about those businesses. It's government's job to roll out the red carpet with infrastructure to their business community. It's government job to take care of and maintain the infrastructure that has been put in the streets by our predecessors. It is all too easy to ignore those things. 40 years Fitzwater Street was ignored. 40 years. It's our obligation to replace that piece of infrastructure. It's our obligation to replace the 100-year-old, in some cases, wooden pipes down Main Street. We have a section of it in my office. It is our obligation to be honest with people and say, this stinks, and we're going to work with you through it every step of the way. It's why we helped Susan Purnell at Kuhn's select her new location for 14 months and sign that 14-month lease before she moved on to back to her downtown location. And we're very proud of the fact that we've worked closely with every single business owner in our community as they face construction in front of their business.
Mayor Day, thank you very much. Mr. King?
Yes, he just took out he just sold $12.48 million worth of municipal bonds, increasing more debt for us, and he's dumping it all into the downtown, basically. It's in an article that he just wrote, that he was just in, okay? You can't do something like that. You have to worry about, how about the other people in the city? The other people in the city need some infrastructure help themselves. And, if you build it, it's not like Field of Dreams is just gonna come. It's not happening that way. So, I mean, I don't know what you're looking at, but I mean, as mayor, the most important job you have as mayor is safety for your people, is safety. And I do not agree with those crime statistics. I do not. I see too much crime in this city. And he never responded to, why hasn't he responded to these small businesses? Why? They emailed him several times. All they got were emails back from his assistant, oh, he's away, he'll get back to you. Why has he not responded to him? And he didn't respond to the progressive question either. I'd like to hear about that, because you know what? Cities are being destroyed by progressives. Yeah, it's funny, right? Until this
Mayor
city
Day,
gets wrecked.
Mr. King, I'm sorry. We're gonna jump into, before we start the next round, I'm gonna get to another audience member question, and at some point I might even have some questions of my own here. But Mayor, if you could, I think, actually, you know what, Mr. King, we'll start with you, because I want you to go first for one of these. Just the question is generically from the audience, how will you bring businesses to Salisbury? And I think this might be an important distinction, because I think from what the mayor is saying is that these infrastructure upgrades are part of bringing business. So if you could expand maybe on your ideas of how to bring business to Salisbury. We'll start with you, and then we'll give the mayor a chance to rebut.
Yes, I agree with him that the infrastructure has to be improved in the city, but not all at one time, like he just said. And chewing gum and walking at the same time is not happening here. He's saying it, but it's not happening here. Okay? Basically, the way I would bring business here is we have to fix the crime, we have to help out with the homelessness, and then once we get the atmosphere correct and the livability rate goes back up where it should be. See, what people don't realize is our livability rate is 12%. That means 87% of the cities and towns in this country are better than us. They're better than us. So I don't know how he's sitting there saying this is so fantastic here. I think that we have a lot of potential here, but I think what we need to do is, once we clean up a couple of these spots with the crime and the homelessness and all that stuff, I would literally take my business development team and I'd start making phone calls. I'm a salesman. I'm a businessman. That's what I would do. And I would literally call some of these states like New York, Connecticut, New Jersey, California, with these high taxes, And I would look for these companies, I would put advertising in journals, and I would be proactive. I'm not gonna sit here and wait for them to just show up.
Mayor Day, if you could. Sure. Rebuttal.
Yeah. So, first of all, I think it's important to point out that livability, I used to work for the Partners for Livable Communities. The term livable and livability, the measurement of that was created by Partners for Livable Communities, Bob McNulty. And I've never heard of a percentage or ranking that is supported by PLC or any other national organization that measures, quote unquote, a percentage of livability.
You just did.
Not supported by anyone else in the United States.
Sure.
That being said, deeds not words, ladies and gentlemen, deeds not words. It is easy to say, oh, I'll go out and get them. It's another thing to have GE in your office just last week. It's another thing to tour a microwave communications plant last month that is moving to Salisbury. It is another thing to meet with entrepreneur after entrepreneur who is investing in this city, who is building things in this city, has done it over and over again. And I thank them because, frankly, you're the ones who are adding the jobs to our city.
Okay, we're going to get back to our great panel here. Jennifer Cox, if you'd like to start the next round of questions, or if you want Mr. Chambers to go. Jennifer, you got it? Jennifer's got it.
Gentlemen, the National Folk Festival has recently, I'm off. Oh, there we go.
There we go.
The National Folk Festival has recently completed its second year here in Salisbury, and we have one more year of hosting to come. Mayor Day, you clearly believe the NFF plays a significant role in boosting Salisbury's image and its economy. If you could pursue being a host city again, would you?
Well, it is my job, it is the mayor's job to try to grow our economy. That's one of the things that we're responsible for. And since that's our job, and since we have now just crested as the Salisbury economy, $20 billion is our GMP, our gross metropolitan product per year. The economic impact of something like this is unrivaled. And we believed it, we thought it was worth pursuing the first time, but the evidence is there now. Last year, when it rained and 63,000 people showed up over the course of 3 days, it had a $20 million impact, which is a greater economic impact than any other event in our community at the time. This year, $45 million economic impact. It's our obligation to invest in things like that. And at a total budget of $1.1 million, 750,000 of which was raised from the business community, and 250,000 of which came from the state. We're very proud to keep that up. We're very proud to continue that. And it's not just one more year. It's one more year branded as the National, but it will continue on after that as the Maryland Folk Festival.
I think he was just telling a joke there. There's a folk festival in Bethlehem, Pennsylvania, that goes on for 11 days. And they have 1.2 million people that come to it. And their economic impact is 60 million. Now, 2.5 days, we did 45 million. And by the way, first it was 35 million, now it's 40 million, now it's 45 million. What is it, next week it's gonna be 50 million. I have no idea how he's finding these numbers, but the numbers keep changing, okay? And to say that 153,000 people showed up at the festival this year when we have 103,000 people in the county and only 450,000 people on the shore, and our parking lots were not over flooded. We had backup parking lots. We had overflow parking lots. They were not packed. None of them were. 153,000 people would have gridlocked this entire city. And the first night we had about 4,000. The third day, maybe we had 10,000. So what he's saying is, man, we had about 130,000 people here on Saturday. And I do not believe that what he's saying with this Wi-Fi meshing is working, because I have a drone and I'm going to start putting it on. I'm going to put it online for you, and you're going to get there and you'll get a chance to count it yourself and tell me if you think that's 153,000 people.
All right,
but
Mr.
other
King.
than that, wait a second. Other than that,
we're gonna
I
move
happen
on to the
love
next question.
festival, though. I don't like the lies around the festival. I like the festival. I don't
That's
like
noted.
the lies around it.
We're going to move to the next question. Mr. Chambers, if you could continue on with our panel questions.
Ryan, gentlemen, it's for both of you. What steps will you take as mayor to significantly increase home ownership for city residents, considering the current rental rate in the city hovers around 70%?
We need competition. That's what we need. We keep building apartment complexes. Last year, we only pulled 11 permits for single-family homes. We should be rezoning these properties for single-family homes, because what's happening here is we need more competition. And if we had more competition, the rent prices will go down. It's just simple supply and demand. Okay, why do we keep building apartment complexes and they're not full? I've had people calling to find out if they were full. They're not packed. People can't afford $1,200, $1,300. I live on a street where people were complaining about $1,000 a month. Okay? If you want home ownership and you want people to have pride in the community and be part of the community, we do need home ownership, but why are we building apartment complexes? Why haven't we changed the zoning? Why have we not? Why aren't we building houses where these apartment complexes are going up?
So I'm glad the subject of zoning has come up. As a city planner, one of the things that I'm proud of is that we funded and are now beginning the replacement of our 1983 zoning code. However, it's illegal to simply identify pieces of property and change the zoning. That's against the law. We're not allowed to do that from multifamily to single family. However, we can do it wholesale. And yes, supply and demand is the problem when it comes to the American affordable housing crisis. It's true in every community in America. There's sections on it. There are seminars on it at every mayor's conference, every city conference you go to. Every city in America is suffering through a housing affordability crisis right now. But here's how you address home ownership. You build homes that are required to be single-family occupied. And from 2007 to 2017, we didn't build a single-family home in the city of Salisbury. Since 2017, we passed the single-family permit fee moratorium, and we have pulled 123 permits, built all of those houses, and we have over 600 more single-family homes that will be deed restricted to be occupied by homeowners over the next 3 years.
We're going to get to another audience member question here for this next one. Once again, these are anonymous, but thank you so much for submitting your questions. This question, Mr. King, will let you start. Is since Wicomico County doesn't have a tax differential, how would you go about getting these services for our residents?
I think we should have a tax differential. I think that we should actually say, I think that the county should give us some money back, to tell you the truth. Sorry, Bob, but that's really what I think should happen. I think we're not getting out of the county taxes what we should be getting. And I have a feeling Jake might probably agree with me on that. But when it comes down to, I want to get back to another subject.
Well, do you mind can we let the mayor rebut, and if it comes up again, do you mind for the time being stick with this question
he just said
here
the
at hand?
rezoning is impossible, but then he said he was just forcing,
But if we get away from the question at hand, I would have had to let Jake address the fact that you called him a progressive and had greater political aspirations. So I would
I'm still waiting for that answer.
We could get to that, but I'd like to stick with this question. So Jake, if you could talk about the tax differential, because what Mr. King is saying that you probably agree. I just want to know if you agree before we move on.
So this is simple. There are 7 counties in the state of Maryland that, under state law, do not have to, they may grant tax differential, meaning reduce your property tax rate that you're paying as a city resident. They may reduce your property tax rate. Everybody else in the state, they have to by law, and they do it. Now, of those 7, 5 of them do it willingly because it's good for the economy and it's good for your pocketbook. It's good for your bank account. 2 counties don't do it at all, Kent and Wicomico. And some of those counties, some of those municipalities that are in those other counties think even what they're getting is unfair, and they've brought lawsuits. We are working right now with the town of Ocean City, who is suing Worcester County to get tax fairness and tax equity for the property owners and the businesses in their community. I hope that it never gets there. I hope that we never have to get to that place. I hope that we can get county leaders and the Eastern Shore delegation to stand with us as we push forward through the General Assembly over the coming years the request to make Wicomico County a shall county and get tax fairness for all of our property owners.
See, we agree.
Going to get into another question from the audience again. Mayor Day, you can start on this one. What are you going to do about public transportation?
Man, we made a giant mistake decades ago when we collectively on the lower shore gave up our power for federal dollars for transportation to a tri-county conglomerate which runs shore transit and provides transit services. Now, I say that's a mistake not because shore transit's bad or doing anything bad, but because it's a regional rural system. It's not designed for where 55,000 people go to work every single day. We have 17,500 people in the workforce in the city of Salisbury and 55,000 jobs in the core of this community. Think about that. That's a whole lot of people that have to move around. Some of them have cars, some of them don't. Some of them don't want cars, some of them can't afford it. And at the end of the day, I believe it is public responsibility to address that. Over the last 2 years, we have now acquired 5 Maryland Transit Administration buses and 3 trolleys from Shore Transit. We are starting to build a network that we are going to be able to operate. It's going to require partnership with Shore Transit, because at the end of the day, public transportation systems do not operate successfully off of fares alone. Otherwise, you'd be paying $50 a ride on a bus. Absolutely nobody's going to do that. So we have to work cooperatively with Shore Transit. We have to work to get some of those federal dollars to fund that system. And yes, we need an urban transit system focused right here on this community.
Mr. King?
Yes, we definitely have to get subsidized. Where I'm from, we used to have the HART bus, and one thing the HART buses did do, though, is they arrived on time and they left on time. I do know some of the people in our neighborhoods here that are saying that they would like to take the bus, but the bus is not reliable. So in a lot of senses, I agree with Jake as far as the transportation is concerned with the buses. We don't have really any an effectual public transportation here. I do not know what he knows because I am not in the office. So once I get into the office, I'm obviously going to look at this and try to figure out why the heck do we not have more usable public transportation. I certainly do not think bikes are the answer, but I do think buses and cars obviously people are going to use. But yes, I do think we have to get buses here, and we have to get them running on time, and we have to get this stuff subsidized. Otherwise, it's not going to work.
I'd like to continue with the audience questions, but Jennifer, Bill, Mike, does anybody have a question that they'd like to ask again, or can we continue with the audience questions? Okay. This next question, Mr. King, I'll let you start. How do you plan to make our community more inclusive and diverse?
Well, we're pretty diverse already, to tell you the truth. But as far as or more inclusive, I think people need to own homes. That's really where it comes down to. When people own homes, they have pride in their community. They have pride in their neighborhood. I mean, that's really where it comes down to. We can't have a rich area and then have all this poor area, which is that 27% below the poverty line that I was talking about. To be more inclusive, we need to make homes affordable. And right now, we just do not have affordable homes because we do not have the competition. And I mean, I'm just reiterating what I said before, but they're both tied together. And I think home ownership would make everybody feel more inclusive. I do. That's why I bought a house. I mean, when I rented an apartment over at Mayoral Manor, I did not consider myself included in the community really. But once I bought a house, I did. And that's when I really started looking at things, the correct way. Jake?
Diversity is great. Inclusivity is better. Making people feel like part of a community is all about how you treat each other. And as the first World Kindness City in America, I'm proud of that designation. Our Secretary of Kindness, Ms. Grace Murdoch, has worked her tail off. I see a lot of people in the room on the Kindness Commission who have been involved in those efforts. I'm grateful for each of you. But at the end of the day, it's the responsibility of leaders to set the example, how we treat each other, how we care for one another. So one of the reasons we started the Human Rights Commission in the city of Salisbury. It's time we implement many of their recommendations. Some of those recommendations deal with the symbols and signals that we send to people, that maybe it doesn't impact you personally, but it impacts somebody else, like the Confederate monument on our courthouse lawn, the House of Justice, that needs to come down. Those symbols, those signals, they matter. And people pick up on that, and they want to look to their leaders to say, you're all welcome here. You all belong. Everybody in this community matters. So I'll continue to create an environment where that is the watchword of Salisbury.
Gentlemen, thank you. And next question from the audience. How do you plan to address the 1% vacancy rate among rental units in the city? And Mayor Day, you get to go first.
So earlier tonight, we heard about vacancy in apartments, but it's not even 1.4% is the vacancy rate. So
Thank you.
round down to 1%, sure. 1.4% vacancy in apartments is a tremendous problem, and that is precisely why we have an incredibly rapidly rising cost of renting in this community. And it's true across America. We have a housing crunch. We simultaneously have a housing construction boom. In Salisbury, we have over 2,500 permitted or in the pipeline units, and that will help. That will help. But we have to keep looking forward. We have continued to add people. We've continued to add jobs, 2,700 jobs in 4 years. We're the fastest growing city in terms of population in the state of Maryland. And it is absolutely critical that we keep up with housing or else we are going to fall behind. It is supply and demand. We will fall behind. It will continue to get more expensive. So I'm grateful for, I see 3 housing developers in the room who are actively building housing. I'm grateful for that. We need you to continue. We need more like you to continue. I'm grateful that the old mall is finally getting redeveloped. I'm excited that the rubble pile is gone from the old mall. But critically, it's not just about cleaning up that site. It's about what's going to be there next. Single-family homes and apartments and townhomes and shopping and a hotel and a Wawa. And I'm very excited for all of it. Come on, I like the hoagies. But we're excited for all of that. But the impact on our housing market is going to be significant. I don't expect rents to plummet or drop, but they'll at least stabilize.
Mr. King, just a rebuttal, and then we're going to get to closing statements.
Sure. When I left Marley Manor, they had 38 open apartments, and they already turned one of their buildings into Section 8. Now, that is a big issue with me, and probably a lot of people in this town. The more apartments we build and are not taken care of will turn into housing subsidized apartments in the long run. That's why we should not be building any more apartment complexes. I do not believe it's just 1%. I think it's greater than. I had somebody calling the last few days that has figured out there's a lot of vacancies in these apartment complexes. So how do we fix it? We have to build homes, and he just said that, and I agree with that. If we build more homes and we open up that spigot, I think that we could really take care of what's going on here. But I mean, it's going to be a long battle. It's going to be a long battle. It will be. The apartment complexes, I think we just have to cease and desist as far as building them, because it's just going to, unless the landlords are going to take care of them and they start falling apart, like a lot of them are, they're going to turn into Section 8 properties. And when you have too many Section 8 properties in a community, it becomes a slum. Okay.
Mr. King, thank you. We're gonna get to our closing arguments here, or your closing statements, however you want to take it, and you can address whatever you want, say what you need to. 2 minutes or 1 minute? We'll go with 2 minutes. How's that? Go ahead, Mayor Day.
Well, I think first and foremost, I want to say thank you. Thank you to my family. Thank you to my friends and supporters. Thank you to the incredible organizations that participated in putting this on. It is an important act of democracy to share ideas and to talk about those ideas in a public forum. That is important. I think it's important that we remember that no matter what we call ourselves, conservative, liberal, moderate, progressive, whatever, we're a free society in the United States of America. And in a free society, one of the things that legally we cannot do is tell people what they can and cannot build. And so if somebody wants to build apartments, they're going to build apartments as long as they construct them within the confines of health and safety laws. Look, I love this place. I was born and raised here. I have a lifelong commitment to this community. From a little kid running around streets, Forest Lane to Victor Drive, to coming back after spending time away with the military and University of Maryland and Carnegie Mellon and Oxford, and coming back here and saying, after many left, we'll come home and we'll give back. This is not a gig to me. This is not politics to me. This is my town. This is my life. I love this city with every fiber of my being. And now I get to go to work every single day and work on the project of improving this community. I get to work on continuing to make sure that you are proud of not only the city you live in, but a city government that you can be proud of and know is operating efficiently, effectively, and innovatively. But most of all, I get to go to work every day and work to ensure that I'm going to leave a community that my 2 daughters can be proud to live in. So I ask you on November 5th to go to your polling place and vote to keep our progress alive. Thank you and God bless.
Yes, I do agree. You could be anything you want. You could be a communist in the United States also. But let me tell you something. We've got Los Angeles, San Francisco, Seattle, Portland, Chicago, now New York City, that are all ran by progressives, and they are running their cities into the ground. It is not a good sight. And I saw de Blasio on an interview the other day. He said his homelessness was going down. He said the crime was going down. And you know what? It's not. It's not. I visit the city about once a year, and I see more and more homeless laying all over the streets as ever. But getting back to anything, I'll just like to say the city of Salisbury is a city of great potential. I know this. I believe with my experience of running my own business, smarts, and common sense makes me the perfect person for the job of mayor. We have major issues that are getting in the way of getting us to the next level. For all of this to work, we have to put all the pieces together in priority order. Crime is tops on my list. Crime is a major issue for our people's safety and for the businesses here. I'm also going to have to unravel all this planned spending of Jake's and figure out what to do with some of these projects he has started. Okay, because I need to take that money and start helping the forgotten people that are around the town. Okay, it's not fair that all the money's being dumped into the downtown and not to the people that live around the downtown. Okay, another issue would be some of the grants we received and applied for. I mean, are we going for the right grants? Are we truly going for the right grants? I don't believe in all these beautification grants that we're getting. I believe that we need grants for more police, which we are adding some more police. He has a sign up there now. He's actually adding more police. But number 4 on my list basically is the economy and the transparency. I do not believe this city is transparent. I don't know why we're not doing the roundtable anymore. We should have the roundtable. The roundtable, if you guys don't know what it is where all 5 districts get together and sit down together with their councilman and the mayor, and we discuss the issues of the week or the issues of the month or the issues of the year. But it's very, very important for our, that is how you become inclusive. That is how we do it.
Mr. King, thank you so much. So that's going to end the questions and the closing statements. I just want to take a moment to thank all of you in this audience tonight and to thank PAC 14 for having this live streaming on Facebook and thank Salisbury University so much in 2019 that we can come together in this room and smile at each other and love our neighbors and respect each other. It really means a lot. So thank you so much. I know it gets contentious, but it does mean a lot. Thank you. Have a great night. Drive safe. And thank you to our special partners. Once again, Ryan Eldridge, 47 ABC. Have a great night, everybody. And don't forget to vote.